is with me. He is also hosting this show. This is kind of a new show for us, so there will be a few hiccups along the way, but we're excited to bring it to you because there's just more and more information that we're able to share to our guests, our listeners, our people, and we want to bring that information to you. There's going to be some free stuff. There's going to be some sharp money reports. There's going to be some trends. There's going to be some last minute breakdowns, some weather influences in the game, in any game, and we're just really excited to bring this to you. You can find this obviously on the Twitter. You can find this on our new Twitch channel at The Odds Breakers. You can find it on our YouTube channel at The Odds Breakers, and of course, BetterSportsPicks.com. Kyle, how you doing, man?
Doing good, man. I'm looking forward to our first round of this. I think this should be fun, and we don't have as many college football games to talk about as normal. We do have a full NFL card, but I have to say, I love being able to turn on the TV and have multiple sports options here lately. I'm looking forward to. I think we'll be able to give viewers, listeners, a lot of information, kind of fast-paced here in this show.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so too. I think information changes so fastly, lines move so fastly. So I'm like, why not? We thought to ourselves when we discussed this for a while, why not just do something right before? Because first of all, we hit the books or hit the lines in the beginning, but a lot of times we hit the lines in the end when more information comes or a line moves in our favor. So it's a great thing for that. Obviously, you don't catch the show live. We do this usually on late Friday night, so it's going to be on Thursdays every once in a while. You can always catch it the next morning, Saturday morning. For the most part, it'll be ready. We're going to discuss a little bit of NFL too, probably with the mostly of focus on college. So that's the plan right now. Obviously, subject to change. So we just have to kind of go from here. But real excited to bring this to you. I think we can start out, Kyle, with a few week one trends that you have found. I'm really excited to hear what you have.
All right, so let's start in college football. I have to say, I looked a little bit longer on this one than I did for the NFL. In college football, there weren't quite as many strong trends that were really just easy to find right away. All week one totals of 51 or less, or 53.5% to the under here in the last 15 years. I think this makes sense because, the books can only set a line so well. They're not going to put a total of 30-something on a college game unless it's really extreme. And at the beginning of the year, we don't really know what to make of it. I will say, this year is a little bit different. We already know that, right? So I'm a little bit worried to play low unders unless we have a really good reason to do it with the slow pace or two teams that really run the football a lot, because we don't really know how the tackling's going to be. They haven't had those same practices that they've had in the past. So with this one, 53.5% to the under for all week one totals, and then also home underdogs of 2.5 points or more, with a total of 51 or lower. The under is 48-28. So if you can get a home underdog with a low total, those have been staying under at a very good rate. Like I said, I don't think these are earth-shattering or anything. I think they're decent trends. If you look at favorites versus dogs, it's almost exactly even. So I think favorites was just a tiny edge, 50-point-some% here in the last 15 years. So nothing earth-shattering, like I said, here in college. We'll have a couple better ones when it gets to the NFL. But I do want to throw out one ATS angle here real quick, which I think this one's actually a little bit better than the totals one. So home teams in college football, home teams who made the preseason the previous year, and our favorites in week one laying less than 21 points. They're 114-75. That's 60.3% ATS in their last 189 contests. If they won at least 7 games the year before, the cover rate jumps to 63.5%. So home teams not laying a big number have really done well if they made the postseason last year. So I think, again, this makes sense. It's a little bit higher against teams who didn't make the postseason the year before. Look, those postseason practices and bowl games, they really mean a lot. So I think if you can catch something like that, that's a pretty decent edge.
Yeah, that sounds like a great edge. Actually, anything over 60% is amazing, really, and something you really got to pay attention to. So great stuff right there. Let's get right into a few sharp movements here, and that's something that I'm probably going to be trying to cover a little bit more and more often. I'm going to go to my screen here, move into I'm going to use the Action Network for this. I use a couple different areas to get sharp money reports, but this is kind of a common area that I like to go to. So the first one I want to start out with is a line that kind of bounced up and down a little bit here. Just got to find it. So Texas San Antonio is what we're looking at. This real interesting line, as you can see here, 32% percentage point difference between the ticket total and the money. 34% of the money is on Texas San Antonio, or sorry, 32% of the 34% of the tickets are on it, but 66% of the money. This one started out low. Texas State played a close game to SMU last week, and then so money started coming in early on Texas State, and that thing came all the way up to about 10 points. As a matter of fact, I caught a 10 and sent it out as a premium play. I'm able to say that right now because this thing right now is all the way back to plus 6.5 or plus 7. I was fortunate to get it because literally hours later, it got beat pretty hard and brought it right back down to 7. That's what's happening here. Texas San Antonio power rated for me is pretty close to where Texas State is, and it's kind of an overreaction from what they did. It's not like they were that close to Texas to SMU. SMU faltered last year in their bowl game, as you remember. Their defense was never that good. They got outgained by about 128 yards as well. So, that's what I looked at. I was like, why is so much love? It's because people look at the final score. I think it was within 7 points last week. So there you go. I wouldn't give it out at plus 7. It'd be a lean to me at plus 7 still, just because I have to respect where this line is at. But at plus 10, it was definitely a play for me. So that's one. Do you have any thoughts on that one, real quick, Kyle?
Yeah, I mean, this line is too high. The question is, do you want to take UTSA? There are a lot of question marks about them as well. It's not a team I'm really excited to bet. I was waiting and I saw that 9.5, and I didn't get a 10. If I would have seen a 10 or a 10.5, I would have had to play UTSA. Just based on principle here. I make Texas State minus 2.5 in this game. If you give me a 2.5 and somebody's getting 10, I have to take it, even if I don't really love it. I think that Texas State's question mark here too is, how good is SMU? I mean, is SMU really good? I don't think we know that yet. SMU's offensive line didn't look very good in that game. We know SMU doesn't have a very good defense, so I think Texas State's getting a bit too much credit from that Week 1 performance.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. They are, and so that's kind of what happened to this line. I think it was kind of bet by maybe a few bigger groups in the beginning, but then some large groups hit it harder when that thing got up to 9.5, 10, and that thing just sunk. The next one I'd like to talk about here is Texas. Another Texas state. Let's stay in the state of Texas. We have the University of Texas versus UTEP, and this is now down to 18%. But geez, I mean, you're looking at a spread of 42.5 to 43. 63% of the tickets are on Texas. 81% of the money is on Texas, and there's a little bit of dual action here. And people look at this spread, it's like, wow, 43 points, and it's still getting bet. Well, to be honest with you, if I look at where Texas is in my power ratings, they're one of the better Big 12 teams. I think I have them right around where Iowa State is, to be honest with you. But you look at UTEP, they were one of the worst teams last year, hovering around the Akron and UMass. All right, maybe not quite that far, but close to Akron and UMass. And I literally have Texas with a 2-point home field advantage at 46 points. Now, that's not a big enough variance when you're looking at high high spreads from 43 to 46. It's not like we're going from 3 to 6 or anything special in the middle of the season. So I'm not necessarily going to touch it here, but that's what the reason is because a lot of people think that Texas can win this game 55-0, 55-7, something like that, Kyle. I don't think you're a man that lays that kind of chalk usually, are you?
No. This is. I have to be honest. This game does not interest me. So I'm ready to move on to the next one. Also, we talked about 4 teams from Texas. So I promise we will talk about teams from other states.
Yeah, let's be honest to other states here. It's not all about Texas, even though they're a huge part of college football. So the last one I wanted to talk about here is Coastal Carolina against Kansas here, and this is an interesting game here because this spread went from -3.5, and all of a sudden within like an hour, I watch these things all day, it goes to 7. And I'm like, what the heck happened? But then all of a sudden it gets up to 7, and now you're starting to see some larger bettors taking Coastal Carolina, and it's now down to 6.5. The reason that is well, Coastal Carolina did beat Kansas last year, and I think they beat them at a close game. It was actually a really low-scoring game. A lot of people had the over in that game, and it was strangely went under. And B, when it comes to returning production, Kansas is one of the lowest returning production schools, and I believe they rank at 126 according to Bill Conley's returning production, and that's pretty low out of 130 teams. And Coastal Carolina, I believe, is top 20. There are 19 in returning production. So the same kids that beat them last year are playing again, and they feel like they have a handle on Kansas. So it's not like Kansas gets that big of recruits. They almost recruit like a group of 5 school when it comes to football anyway. Kyle, would you agree?
Yeah, this is the most interesting game that we've talked about to me. I lean Coastal Carolina in this game, I'll be honest. This is one that I've considered betting. I haven't bet this game. If we could get a flat 7, definitely would have betted it was 7.5 Coastal Carolina, but it never got to that point. I have to say, Coastal Carolina is one of those teams, too, that actually got in a bunch of spring practices. Kansas got in none. So I think that matters in a game like this. Coastal got in 15 spring practices. Kansas was 0. This you could see this game either way. You could say Kansas searched out for revenge. They lost to Coastal Carolina from the Sun Belt last year. And that's kind of embarrassing for a team from the Big 12, but we all know that Kansas is a bottom feeder in the Big 12. I will say that Puka Williams did not play for Kansas in that game last year. Their running back, definitely their best player. So that'll make a difference for them. I considered the under when I was looking at this game, but I think Kansas is going to play a lot quicker with the new offensive coordinator. They switched there during the year last year. Their offense got a lot better at the end of the season. So I don't know that this number is quite high enough to play an under. I still have a lean toward Coastal Carolina just because I don't want to lay this many points with Kansas against anybody. I can't see how anybody would be too anxious to do that. I don't think I will end up betting this game, but I do lean Coastal in this one.
All right, sounds good. So we have a lean from Kyle on this one. Kyle, there's some weather that we are definitely going to be touching on every single week. There's a little bit of weather this weekend, not a ton, but would you like to elaborate on some of that?
Yeah, it's probably less weather this weekend than what we'll have a lot of the other weekends. I know a lot of those games in October and November, you can really get some bad weather. Some rain here forecast for the Charlotte and App State game and the Western Kentucky and Louisville game. I have to say rain in and of itself does not impact totals much at all. I think it's a bit of a mistake for many bettors is they see that it's going to rain and they bet down the total 2 or 3 points. Might be a good time to play back and over on something like that because especially if the teams are running teams and the defenses aren't very good, there's still going to be plenty of chances to score. What you don't want if you bet an over is you don't want wind and rain or wind and snow. So heavy wind is the most important thing to look for. Wind doesn't look like it's going to be an issue for the App State game in Boone, North Carolina, or the Louisville game. So I don't see it as a big factor. I will say also the Duke and Notre Dame game, 10 miles per hour wind with some light rain later in the game. Nothing too bad there at all. It looks to me like this college card, we've got very minor weather. We do have one NFL game that has a decent amount of weather that maybe we can touch on a little bit later. But these three games are the only ones that really stand out at all in college. I'm not going to bet anything on an under just because of the weather this week, and I love betting totals under the total when there is bad weather. I just don't think anything stands out enough this week.
Sounds good, man. Well, I do have a play for our listeners here, and it is, you have to wait a little bit because only a few books have this out right now, and it's a team total. You mentioned Charlotte versus Appalachian State. I'm going to take the Charlotte team total over 21. I actually found that at plus 100 today. I expect that to close at 22 or 23 as the total on this game goes up here. Probably about a star and a half. I'm going to give this one. Last year, Charlotte hung 41 points on Appalachian State. They returned their quarterback Chris Reynolds, which is he was a beast for them. I mean, they did average 29.8 points a game for Charlotte. They just didn't have much of a defense here. What I like about this is App State, they only returned 53% of their production on defense, while Charlotte returns a huge, like 80%, about 80%. So these kids already played against Appalachian State, and they kind of figured them out and know how to play it here. I also like the fact that if it is raining, Charlotte averaged 5 yards per carry on the ground. When it's raining, it favors the running game because the running back knows where he's cutting, the defender doesn't. The defender falls on his butt a lot of times when that happens. So looking at this large total, I think Charlotte has to get some points here, and a lot of people are taking them as a dog. Appalachian State's very powerful. I just feel comfortable them going over 21 points, Kyle.
Yeah, I think that Reynolds is a really underrated quarterback for Charlotte as well. I think he'll do a good job here. App State, you also have to remember too, they lost a lot of defense from last year's team. I mean, they lost all three linebackers who were all the best linebackers in the Sun Belt, basically. I mean, these are guys that were drafted. I know the Bengals drafted one of their linebackers, and they lost their best defensive lineman as well. So App State on offense still looks very strong with Thomas. Their defense looks like it's down a bit. So yeah, I agree with that Charlotte team total.
All right, my man. I think you might have a lean or possibly a play for us.
I've got something in the NFL, so maybe we could talk about the NFL games here a little bit, and then we'll go to my free play.
Well, let's go, man. We are going to cover the primetime game for Sunday night, and once in a while there'll be a couple other main games coming on. This is week one. We're not going to get too crazy here, but there's been a lot of interest in this Cowboys versus Rams game here. The Cowboys are laying 3 points on the road to the Rams here, and now that's kind of dancing a little bit. If we can go to my screen here and check out a little bit of the NFL sharp sides, and if we go down to the Cowboys, it looks like it started out with the Cowboys getting bet up a little bit, but now 65% of the money is on the Rams, yet only 42% of the tickets are on the Rams. That's a 23 percentage point difference there. When it's over 20% for me, and my other sources agree, I think it's more of a sharp side, and you can see this thing coming back down a little bit. The thing about the Cowboys is they always come in with too much hype. They really didn't fix their defense. Sean McVay, just 2 years ago, this guy was in the Super Bowl here, and he's going to have some tricks up his sleeve for the Cowboys. They're not going to make it easy. Who's all the pressure going to be on here? Dak Prescott. Now, yes, I'm talking like I'm going to make a play on the Rams, but I am still concerned that you might say that that power offense that the Cowboys have could be a little bit overwhelming. I think the last game that they played, the Cowboys might have blew them out from what I remember. But Kyle, maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
That was a really high-scoring game. Sounds like you might like the over in this game too. as far as this game, I have a couple thoughts here. I do kind of like the over, to be honest with you. I think that both teams could get their points here. I think McVay, people kind of forget that he was a really good offensive mind. I know that they weren't as good on offense last year at times. Jared Goff is really inconsistent. Everybody knows that. If he's pressured or if he's playing in a cold weather game, you know this. If he's playing in a game against the Bears in Chicago or something like that, he's in trouble. But Goff can be pretty good too. I mean, let's not pretend that he's never good. And I think he still has enough weapons around him. I worry a bit about Dallas laying points here on the road. I do think Dallas has a high upside, but Dallas has not been good as a road favorite. I would not want to bet Dallas as a road favorite in this game. The only way I could look at this game is the Rams if I'm taking a side, and the over if I'm betting the total. And I have to say that I think that Dallas has gotten quite a bit of hype, like you said, like they always do. And I think that, they have a few question marks here at the beginning of the season. They lost a couple offensive linemen that could be pretty key as well. So I think Dallas does have a high upside, but I worry about them right from the start.
Yeah, agreed there. So no play for me yet. I don't know if there's going to be some more money coming in on the Cowboys at the last minute, and I'm going to get a +3 at even money at +100. Then I'd probably start thinking about playing that sucker. So just to let you know on that. The next game we're going to talk about real quick is the Monday Nighter. One of the Monday Nighters. We have two of them. We have the Giants versus the Steelers. And if you listen to the Oddsbreakers podcast, I already pounded the hell out of that game. So we're going to talk about the Titans and the Broncos. And this game is interesting because it flipped a little bit. I believe that the Broncos came out favored, and now they are the dog. And this thing's kind of creeping a little bit up to 3. Titans were getting some more sharp money, but it's 77% of the tickets are on the Titans, but only 70% of the money. It's kind of flip-flop there a little bit too. So a lot of different ideas on this one. I know Von Miller is out, and he's possibly out for the year here. That's a huge loss for the Broncos. One thing I don't like about their offense is I'm not sold on Drew Lock yet. He wasn't the most efficient passer last year, and now he has some weapons, but how much time has he gotten to gel with those weapons like KJ Hamler, Jerry Jeudy? He still has his other receiver there. Kind of I forgot his name, but anyways, they have Noah Fant, and they do have Melvin Gordon now. But the thing about Melvin Gordon, him and Lindsey are going to be in a little bit of a battle here. Lindsey's not going to want to give up his position too well. This is in Denver, where there's still going to be some more home field advantage. I would even say that there's probably 2.5 points without a crowd there still, because you're in a mile-high stadium here. It's not like Tennessee. It's going to affect them that much, but it's something with the travel out to the west here. Tennessee coming off a great year last year. They didn't really start out that great last year, Kyle, but I don't have a play on this. What are your thoughts on this game?
Well, I mean, I was going to ask you your thoughts about Drew Lock, but you already went ahead and said it. I mean, Drew Lock, at the end of last year, remember those last 2 or 3 games of the year where everybody's like, "Man, Drew Lock, he looks good." He actually, but those were against some really bad defenses. It was at the end of the year; the games didn't really mean anything. Look, he's got a lot more convincing to do with me before I think that Drew Lock is a good NFL quarterback. Maybe he will be, but I can't assume that yet. Tannehill did a good job with Tennessee last year. Obviously, Tennessee leans on their run game, their offensive line. I think this one's a tough one at 3 because it's pretty much 3 across the board at this point. Under 3, I would have probably leaned to the Titans. At 3, I honestly don't even really have any lean. I think if I had to bet this game at all, I'd probably bet the over, but I can guarantee you right now this will not make my card. There's no way I'll bet this game. I think that the Denver home field advantage is definitely still the biggest or one of the biggest in the NFL. And if you look at Denver in the first couple weeks of the year, for many years in a row now, they've done really well in home games. So I think it takes people a little bit of getting used to playing at Mile High Stadium. You also wonder if people are going to be in shape as well as they are in some of the other years. There was no preseason. I mean, that would be another topic altogether. But I'd be worried to lay 3 points here with the Titans in what I think should be a close game. I think that, if you got the Titans at +2 when it started, I like that, or around Pick'em. But as it is right now, I think the market's just about right on this game.
Yeah, and I have the Titans by 2.25 points is where I actually have it lined. So for me, yeah, it's a stay away. But if this thing gets past 3, I have to start thinking about Denver. All right, Kyle. Well, that's all I have to cover for the NFL. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I got a couple things. I wanted to say the NFL Week 1 angles as well. So we had some angles for college football. I think these are even better here for the NFL. Week 1, divisional dogs, 38-16-1 ATS in the last 55 contests in Week 1.
Look, that's really right there. The Redskins, divisional dog.
Yeah, the Washington football team.
There's gonna be a couple times I messed that up.
The divisional dogs. I mean, it's really a simple one, but I think it makes a lot of sense because these are teams that care now. Maybe they were bad at the end of last year, but now everybody thinks they have a chance. And the next angle that I'm going to say kind of plays right into that. Teams who won 6 games or less and are underdogs in Week 1 are 75-46 against the spread. That's 62% in the last 15 years. That's a really good angle. I think that's the best one of any of these. Also, the road teams in that spot, again, teams that won 6 games or less and are underdogs this week, if they're on the road, are 49-23 ATS in their last 72. So there are several of these divisional dogs and teams who won 6 or less and are underdogs in Week 1 this week. So definitely ones to keep your eye on here in the week ahead.
Oh, well, look at that. My Bears are an underdog at the Lions. There's a couple more out there as well. I kind of like how this first week is shaping up here. It was pretty interesting game there. Kansas City versus the Houston Texans there. That thing went right at the total. A few mistakes were made. Of course, Houston had some mistakes and a little bit of officiating mistakes, but it was still cool to finally get some football, my man. And do you have any plays that you were going to say about the NFL?
Yeah, first let me say the weather game too. The Jets and the Bills. That's the one weather game in the NFL, and I think this one is a fairly substantial one. You got steady winds of 16 miles per hour, with gusts of 26 miles per hour, and rain. Definitely a weather game to watch. Now, I think that weather doesn't affect the NFL players quite as much as the college players. So I don't blindly bet unders and weather games in the NFL quite as much as college, but I do think that's enough to keep your eye on it. Having said that, this total's at 39.5, and I mean, who really likes betting under 39.5 very much in today's NFL? So I don't know that I'll bet this one, but maybe if you get a fast start in this game, maybe you get a live look at the under, something like that. If it gets up to 44 or 45, because you would expect that this game would be pretty low scoring overall. So that's the one that stands out as far as weather in the NFL this week. I will go ahead and give a free play for this week. I didn't say too much about it when we were talking about the game because I knew this was going to be my free play. I'm going to take the Rams team total over 24. I think the Rams score points on the Cowboys here. Like I said, I do like the game over. I like the Rams team total over just a little bit better. I think Jared Goff will have a pretty good game here. I think the Cowboys defense has quite a few holes in it. So in a game that should be pretty fast-paced, I think the Rams are going to get their chances to score here. 24 is a pretty fair number there on the Rams.
Well, look at that, and I think the Cowboys really could have fixed their pass rush too. That was another thing I was going to say. They did lose Quinn, and that's something that their secondary is not as good.